Hey Globey, you know you're my favorite planet to explore. There is no place more interesting than Earth, but it's also fun to explore other planets. So today we're going to talk about the challenges of exploring Mars with the Phoenix Lander. The Phoenix Lander is a robotic craft that NASA sent to Mars to learn more about the surface of the red planet. One of the coolest things about the mission was the challenge NASA scientists and engineers had to overcome just to get the Phoenix Lander safely to Mars. But before we talk about all that, let's find out exactly what a lander is and what makes it so special. A lander is different than an orbiter, and also different than a rover or an uncrewed aerial vehicle. An orbiter is a craft that orbits around the planet to gather information. NASA sent multiple orbiters to Mars, such as the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the Mars Odyssey, and the Mars Global Surveyor. These orbiters can cover vast areas of the planet, since they're circling the entire planet. The main disadvantage is that they're not getting as close to the surface of Mars as a UAV or a rover. An orbiter is very different than a rover, which is a craft that's designed to travel across the ground. For example, NASA plans to send a new generation of the rover to our moon, so astronauts can explore the surface. NASA also wants to send an uncrewed aerial vehicle, or UAV for short, to Mars. A UAV is a robotic airplane with no pilot or crew. This UAV will be called Ares and is nicknamed the Mars Airplane. The Mars Airplane will soar across the surface of Mars and send incredible photos and video back to scientists on Earth. But the Phoenix Lander is not an orbiter or a rover or an airplane. It's a lander. A lander stays in one place after it's touched down on the surface. Scientists may decide to do this if they only want to do research on that one part of the planet.
A lander for Phoenix was important because we needed to have a very stable platform so that we could dig deep into the surface of Mars. And a rover is not big enough to be able to put a big robotic arm and dig deep holes. Also, Phoenix brought with it a lot of scientific instruments, and it's easier to take those scientific instruments to Mars if you have a big lander to do that with.
Just getting the Phoenix Lander to Mars was a big challenge. Just think about how far away the planet Mars is and how long it would take to get there. The Phoenix Lander reached Mars on May 25, 2008. The lander had to travel 680 million kilometers from Earth. That's 422 million miles. It took 9.5 months to make the journey to Mars. Several countries have tried to send spacecraft to Mars, and about half the time they've failed. So when the Phoenix Lander made it to Mars, it was a huge reason for NASA scientists and engineers to celebrate. And think about this. NASA scientists didn't just want the Phoenix Lander to get to Mars. They had a very particular place on the planet they wanted it to land. The polar region.
We sent Phoenix to the polar region because it's a very unique area in the environment on Mars. We knew that just below the surface of the soil was probably formations of water ice. And if we dug down just a little bit through that dirt, we could get to that ice that's probably been there for tens of thousands to millions of years.
The Phoenix Lander was launched on top of a Delta II rocket that shot it out of Earth's atmosphere.
There are so many things that could go wrong along the way. If everything is not absolutely perfect, you'll crash. Lots of math and science is required. There are lots of calculations to be done to figure out that things are the right size, that they weigh the right amount, and they're going to have the right amount of energy or force or power. Math is used every day in planning these missions and is something that everyone in the project is very skilled at. So it's important to learn how to do that stuff early so that you can do these exciting things.
When the Phoenix Lander entered the Martian atmosphere, it was flying approximately 21,000 kilometers per hour, or approximately 13,000 miles per hour. That is really fast. The lander was slowed down dramatically by using a parachute. Then the lander's legs were extended. This caused 12 small rockets on the Phoenix Lander to fire, which slowed the lander down even more. By the time the Phoenix Lander touched down on the surface of Mars, it was traveling at only 8 kilometers, or around 5 miles per hour. Scientists jokingly refer to the Phoenix Lander's entry, descent, and landing process as 7 minutes of terror, because it took the lander 7 minutes from the time it entered Mars's atmosphere at 21,000 kilometers per hour to a full stop on the surface of Mars. During those 7 minutes, which seemed to last forever to the scientists on Earth, NASA had no contact with the lander. The scientists didn't know the lander had touched down safely until the lander made it to the surface, set up its equipment, and began to send a signal to NASA. After the lander was safely on the surface, it stretched out its solar panels. These solar panels collected energy from the sun's rays, and that energy was used to power the Phoenix lander. With the solar panels fully extended, the Phoenix lander is 5.5 meters or 18 feet long. It weighs 350 kilograms, which is a whopping 770 pounds. Within an hour of touching down on the surface of Mars, the Phoenix lander began to send communications back to scientists on Earth. Its mission on Mars was just beginning, but it had already been a great success. You can see how much math and science is involved for NASA scientists and engineers to design the Phoenix lander and then successfully get it to Mars. By checking and rechecking their math and learning from their mistakes in the past, they were able to overcome those challenges. And now we all get to see incredible photos and videos of the surface of Mars.